We have our goals. We want to be a sustainable city. We have a goal that we want to be climate neutral by 2030. And one of those ways of doing that is through sustainable procurement of food. So we follow the national guidelines for sustainability from our National Procurement Agency. We also follow the environmental goals that we have in our environmental programme and our policy where we want to increase the amount of organic food that we serve.
The politicians have decided that both social sustainability and ecological sustainability is really important when it comes to all procurement, but specifically also for food that we serve in schools and in elderly care. One good thing is that we have measurable targets saying how far do we need to go when it comes to organic food. It also points out specifically that we should reduce the climate impact from the food that is served.
When we send out the tenders to the food producers, they have to ensure that they fulfill all the criteria that we have in the tender, and that means that they have to have a certain level of environmental performance, and they have to be able to document that and show that to us so that we can ensure that they are following the guidelines.
We make the rules for example, it could be meeting the Swedish environmental standard, the law when it comes to antibiotics use in for example, the dairy production. We had a really big farm here, KC Ranch. They were having cattle on the military area that we have here in Lund, and then we made a procurement for meat directly from them, and also for a special dish, the Lunda meatball, and that was possible to do, and then we had this really close to the pupils' production that could also be combined then with study visits where the pupils could go and actually see, okay, this is where the food that we eat was actually produced. It's both the environmental sustainability, the social sustainability, and the economical sustainability that is really important when we procure food. The important thing is to really make these kids eat healthy food, and if they get this connection either to the farmer but also to the chef or the people working in the kitchen, that is something that makes it more attractive to eat the food that is served in school. Our first priority should be to buy food that is both organic and produced in Sweden. The second priority, if that is not available, is that we should have food that is produced in Sweden. And if that is not available, then it's food that is organic but produced somewhere else. And this is in the policy, but then when we make the actual procurement, that is not possible anymore to formulate that we want the food to be produced in Sweden. Then instead we make the rules for example, it could be meeting the Swedish environmental standard, the law when it comes to antibiotics use in, for example, the dairy production.
To ensure that local suppliers can also compete, we try to ensure that the criteria that we set, they are criteria that Swedish producers can meet. So when it comes to animal welfare standards and quality of product and these sorts of things, that we try to ensure that they are standards that the Swedish producers work for and can reach. We can't stipulate that we want local. So when it comes to procuring, we cannot say that we want local. We only have to, through using sustainability criteria, try to ensure that we get as much local as possible. And during our procurement process and during our work, we haven't had an increase in budget. So we've always had to keep within budget. So we might have changed the sort of food that we procure instead. So going for more plant-based products, looking at more seasonable products, which automatically makes it easier for local suppliers to supply us with seasonal vegetables, for example, because they're often a lot cheaper to transport. So they're within the local area. So those are ways that we work to keep prices down, because often organic products that we've been able to ask for, they're often more expensive than conventional.
It's a challenge, actually, but a way to do it is to make not a procurement for all kinds of food at the same time, but making smaller procurements, for example, than for meat or for milk or what it's now that you want. And we are not actually, we're not able to do it like that for all the food. We need the big ones as well for some of the food.
We have become more cost effective, I would say, because we've been able to increase the amount of organic food and we've kept within budget. We've been able to improve the quality of the food that we serve, keeping within budget, because we've worked to cook more from scratch. We've looked at ensuring that we're using seasonal produce, which means that it doesn't have to be imported, so it should be cheaper. We've also looking at having more plant-based. So we look at what we're serving to ensure that we're reducing costs. So we're reducing costs across the board, and that has led to an increase in the quality of the food that we serve. There has been resistance, of course. There's been initial resistance to the changes made in the menus. There was some people within the kitchens didn't know how to cook the food, so we've had to have lots of training. We're going through why we're changing the menu and how they should work with the new food. We've had some resistance from politicians who don't like the fact that we're not serving as much meat in the menus, where they think we should have more meat. So that's often a lack of knowledge about knowing what a balanced diet should include and what a balanced diet can include. There has been resistance from some children in the school canteens when they've been meeting staff. There's been resistance to the sort of food they're getting, and also from parents. But a lot of that was in the beginning of the process. Towards the end of the process, there's less and less resistance. It feels like there's more of a general understanding in society that we have to make these changes for both our health and for the sake of the environment. So I think there's more of an understanding and acceptance across the board. And also, because we've been going on for so long, children that started, who were in preschool when we started on this journey, they are now in mainstream school, and they've always had this sort of food. So for them, there's nothing strange about maybe one day having a fish burger, the next day having a lentil curry. For them, it's totally normal. And they're not wondering where the meat is, because they don't normally get that in school. The Environment Department was given funding from the central municipal government to work with education and training of staff in the public kitchens, so both in preschools and schools and in elderly care. And this training was to ensure that the staff understood why we were working with these issues and how they could make changes. So there were both theory on food and climate issues, there was theory on nutritional balance and nutritional makeup of food and how to put together a healthy meal. And then also there were practical courses for the kitchen staff about how to cook these meals. The vast majority of meals in Malmö are cooked from scratch. So that means that most schools have a production kitchen on site where they will make all the food that they serve in the school. There are some production kitchens who supply a number of schools, but they're often smaller, older schools that don't have the capacity in their kitchen to prepare all the food that they need to serve. So the food will then, the main course, for example, will then be made in a production kitchen and then sent out to the smaller school. But the vast majority of schools have a kitchen on site with staff who prepare the meals for the children on site. According to Swedish law, the Education Act states that school children should be provided with a nutritionally balanced, warm school meal every day. So this is something that Malmö is obliged to do by law, as all municipalities in Sweden are obliged to do. So the school age is from the ages of 6 up to the age of 16. And then high school is from the age of 16 to 19. And the vast majority of high schools in Sweden also get free school meals as well. Some municipalities do take a small charge, but the majority, they are provided free of charge or tax financed.
Vi försöker göra först, det ska bli presentant, absolut. Och så det andra, det ska smaka vi ska laga god mat. Och så, ja, det måste vara först man äter med ögonen och sen man äter med smak. Ja. Så det är viktigt också hur vi presenterar faktiskt. Det är jätteviktigt. Först de små barn, lärarna, de ger själv till barnen, men resten serverar de tar själv maten. Just nu det är våra första steg att vi ska försöka göra så mycket som det går, att vi ska inte kasta mat. Så det är jätteviktigt. Det svinnet det ska bli nästan 0. Det är våra prioritering först. Så vi försöker göra allt möjligt. Vi berättar också till barnen också för att de ska inte ta så mycket. Om de vill mer, då kan de komma och ta andra gånger också. För det ska bli inte så mycket mat, de ska inte kasta så mycket på det sättet. Vi försöker göra allt som det ska likna riktigt restaurang. Vi kallar restaurang våra matsal. Och barnen, när de äter, som de lämnar sin tallrik till disken och de tackar för mat, alltid. Och de säger jättegod mat och ja. Och vi blir jätteglada att de är nöjda och glada och mätta. Så.
When it comes to ensuring that the meals are nutritionally balanced, the recipes that are used in the kitchens, they are nutritionally balanced. So all the ingredients, we have all the nutritional information about the different ingredients in the recipe. So when the recipe is put together, we know that that is a nutritionally balanced meal together with the salad buffet that's served and all the other extra bits. So our menu planners, they are often nutritionists and they know exactly how to put together those elements. So the menu that we serve, the food that we serve is nutritionally balanced. We can't steer how the children and pupils take the food and what they eat. That is up to each individual. We can serve the food, it is up to them how much they eat. It's the same in any school restaurant in the world, I think. It doesn't matter how much food you put on a plate or how much food the children put on their plate. They eat what they want. So we try to ensure that we provide attractive, interesting, good quality food for the children to eat.
We have really good support from the national level. We get guidance from the state, what is needed for a healthy school meal. And we also have to report every school has to report how we meet these nutritional standards.
We don't have a goal anymore when it comes to organic food. We had one in our policy, but the policy is no longer active, but we're looking instead at maintaining the level that we're at and working with our suppliers to ensure that we stay at that level because of cost restraints and these sorts of things and supply issues. We have 40,000 school meals a day. So if you want 40,000 of something, that's an awful lot for a farmer or producer to supply.
It's something we work a lot with to make like a package where we look at all the sustainability dimensions at the same time, because maybe it costs a little more to buy the organic food, but then if we also look for food that is in season, that could reduce our costs, and we the result in the end is not that expensive. It's important because you get the whole package at once. We get the biodiversity, we get that the well-being of the animals is considered. We get less use of fertilizers that are not manure. We also get less pesticides. So it's important because we don't have to put a lot of criteria, but only one.
Sweden have national food safety regulations which all public kitchens or commercial kitchens have to follow. So there are controls in place in the public kitchens, and those kitchens are inspected by food safety inspectors on a regular basis. There have been a number of challenges when we've been trying to implement our policy and to try and implement more sustainable food. A question of supply, especially in the beginning, there wasn't enough organic food, for example. Monitoring, in the beginning, there wasn't the data that we needed to look at our climate impact. So to look at the amount of greenhouse gas emissions from our products, those sorts of numbers were really hard to get hold of. So those have been challenges that we've had to deal with. And in addition, there's been challenges with the customers and getting used to the food, and also staff learning to cook and these sorts of things.
There were different kinds of challenges. One challenge was to know the market, what was really possible to get, and to study that first, because before you set the criteria is really important. Then it's also one challenge in the early days was that there was actually quite a lot of prejudice, that people thought that organic milk wouldn't taste like ordinary milk. And I don't think that problem is so big anymore, but then we had some blind tests where the pupils could try, okay, now you have 2 glasses, and try to guess which is which, and they couldn't.
We've worked with communicating with the schools. It is a challenge because the school restaurants isn't connected directly to the schools. They are under what we call the service department, and then you have the schools department. So the schools department sign an agreement with the service department that they will provide the meals, and they pay the service department a certain amount for the meals for the children. So there is that agreement, but there isn't a direct link. But instead, they do have these food councils or student councils in most schools, and that gives students and staff an opportunity to sit around with the kitchen staff to talk about the food. And that is often seen as a good way for them to talk to each other and to learn about why the kitchen's doing what they're doing, and for the children to say the issues they have so they can try and work together.
The students are really important, and also that we really listen to the students. In some schools there are like a chef's table where they could go and meet the chef and also the principal and bring up their thoughts about food and what could be improved. Some schools have like pupils councils about food, and to have the children along is really important.
We have an interesting project that we're working on at the moment called School Food for Change. It's a Horizon 2020 project, European funded project, with 18 regions and cities of Europe working together and 42 partners. And there we are really trying to work together with the whole school. So we're trying to involve not just the kitchen and not just the staff, but the kitchen and the staff and the parents and the pupils and the support staff in the school as well, to try to get them to meet up around food and to work together so that we can really educate and prepare the children to be future food ambassadors and future food citizens. Schools aren't involved at all when it comes to designing the menu. That is down to the nutritional experts at the school restaurants. They design those, the meals that are served. There can be small variations out in the individual kitchens in the schools. For example, if the staff in the kitchen know that the children in the school like their food to be seasoned in a particular way, or they like certain particular things on the buffet, or if there's one particular meal that they know they don't like, they will make those alterations and changes. But that is more down to the individual kitchen staff because they know the children rather than the school saying to the kitchen. Packed lunches aren't allowed in Swedish schools because there is food provided. So for food safety reasons, school outside food isn't allowed to be taken in unless there is an application made to the head teacher of the school and it's approved by the head teacher. I hope that school food is valued. There is a risk that it's taken for granted because it's been around since the middle of the last century, so many people take it for granted. But I think for many children who live in maybe more socially deprived areas, it is a really vital source of nutrition in the middle of the day and is seen as an important part of the school day.